Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you all for joining me this early morning. Hope you all have a wonderful and safe weekend. Please stay hydrated, mind the children and the pets. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is a two-part live pertaining to Rebecca Dishman and Lori Vallow Daybell. My first subject matter is about Rebecca Dishman. WVLT 8 News is the source. This is a very harrowing story coming out of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It sits about 20 minutes west of Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a government town. Secret City is what its name. This is where the first atomic bomb was built and stored. For those who did not know this, Rebecca Dishman, 25, pleaded guilty to murder and 2 counts of rape of a child. Now, I had no idea that they also had assaulted children. So I found it interesting when I was listening to the audio yesterday, and I thought, rape of a child, what are they talking about? So I'm going to give you that said information pertaining to the children as well. On Tuesday, Rebecca Dishman, 25, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and 2 counts of rape of a child following a lengthy investigation into the death of Jennifer Paxton, who had been stored in a freezer after her murder and dismemberment. Dishman was sentenced to life in prison with an additional 50 years, which must be served 100%. Dishman must also cooperate in the state of Tennessee's death penalty case against her co-defendant, Sean Finnegan, according to the District Attorney General's office. In August of 2020, Oak Ridge Police Department officers and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation personnel executed a search warrant at the home of Finnegan and Dishman, shared on East Fairview Avenue. When officers searched the home, they found the frozen body of 36-year-old Jennifer Paxton. A subsequent investigation resulted in charges for both Finnegan and Dishman for the rape of 2 children. The families of the victims involved in the case were present when Dishman entered her plea. The families of the victims involved in the case were pleased with today's entry of the plea agreement, District Attorney General Dave Clark said. I'm grateful to the officers and prosecutors who have worked so hard on this case. This is a huge step in achieving justice in this case and for these victims, Clark said. Finnegan's trial is set for August 2024, and this is the co-defendant who she will be testifying against, Sean Finnegan. He's an older gentleman, middle-aged gentleman rather. He's old enough to be her father. How did these two meet? What drove these two together? Who are these children that they have assaulted? Because I find this baffling as well. That they have raped 2 children. So who are the children that they raped? Because it says a subsequent investigation resulted in charges for both Finnegan and Dishman for the rape of 2 children. This is utterly disgusting. It's bad enough they dismembered this young lady who ended up staying in this townhouse with the two. And we also got information that his mother was living in the townhouse as well. So that means the mother heard all of this brutality inside of this home and the murder of Jennifer Paxton. And why didn't she say anything or call law enforcement? Was she able to talk, able to hear? That they ask all those questions as well. But both rooms would be upstairs, the bedrooms. So the mother had to have heard crying, hollering, the beating of the woman, the torture of the woman. As I brought you all this commentary a few years ago, when I went to the scene of the crime, show you the house, the townhouse, where all this buffoonery took place, this horrific crime. There are 2 apartments in the middle, which would be 2 bedrooms. And then on either end of the building are 1 bedrooms. So you're talking about 4 apartments in a 4-apartment unit. So 1 bedroom on one side, another 1 bedroom on the other end of the apartment building, and then 2 doors are lined together, which will hold 2 bedroom apartments. So what am I to believe about the mother? She slept downstairs or upstairs? Did she hear what happened? I also heard that there was a dog also in this residence. A neighbor said there was also a dog. How did these two come to meet? Finnegan and Dishman. How did Miss Paxton come to meet them? What made her go stay there? I would assume she didn't have anywhere to go is the reason why she was over there in this residence. Did they lure her in the guise to kidnap her and hold her hostage, torture her, murder her, or they invited her over for just some fun and games with or without her consent? How did it go? I also heard that Miss Paxton had about 6 or 7 children. I don't believe she had custody of the said children at the time. Perhaps she was pillow to post. We also got information about Mr. Flanagan that he had raped another woman years beforehand and never came to justice. The woman was from Knoxville, Tennessee. He somehow got this lady out into Blount County in a home, I believe in Rockford or Louisville, Tennessee, and assaulted her there. She was able to escape by begging for her life, saying she had a boy child. She fled back to Knoxville, Tennessee, some type of way, and alerted authorities, and nothing was done there. You see, these are the problems that we have. Why we have people walking around committing atrocious crimes back to back. It's because nothing's ever done. Even if they are arrested for a crime, they get out on bond, pre-trial release, and then they go right back to the street and commit the same type of crime again, while on bond and while on pre-trial release. Or no evidence was found. Police detectives don't believe the version coming from the said person or persons. This is the type of world we live in. Sometimes justice is not balanced. So we have a 25-year-old Caucasian female who has decided to cooperate with authorities and testify against Mr. Flanagan next year in court. What version will she give? Oh, I had no idea he was going to lure her here or invite her over. I went along with the program because this is what he liked to do. Well, that's not going to fare very well when you've also pled guilty to raping 2 children. So that means you are down for kinky, sick, perverted acts against persons. You don't mind raping children. You don't mind raping adults. They tortured this white lady. Let me make this clear. They tortured her. Cut off her nipple, I believe, breast. Stored her for months in an upright freezer. So that means a dead woman was in a freezer in a house with a man, a young woman, and an elderly woman, and a pet. How about that? So you mean to tell me they never had friends over, guests over? Nobody ever heard the woman screaming? I went to this house after the fact. I interviewed a neighbor, talked to her personally. She's on the end apartment facing the street. She said she heard a lot of banging noise, but she never banged on the door. She never banged on the wall. She never went to Mr. Flanagan to ask, what's the problem? She never called the landlord. She never called the police. This woman perhaps could have been saved had somebody banged on the wall of the door. Maybe they would have stopped, got scared, let her go. Stay woke. We will never know because nobody ever confronted this man. Called the landlord, called the police. Then the neighbor adjoining this property. Her son said he heard something, he believes around that Christmas time, somebody hollering or screaming, but he never inquired, never went out, opened the door to see what was going on, where the noise was coming from. Well, the noise would have been coming right across the fence, so how could you not hear something? If you stood long enough, you might have been able to say, oh, that's coming from right over there, across the fence. This is what happens. Sometimes people just don't care, don't want to get involved, so they don't have to end up worrying about their own safety or testifying later in court, especially if it's a heinous crime such as this. But a lot of times people don't care. I don't care about them arguing. I don't care about them fussing. It ain't me. It ain't my problem. It ain't disturbing me, or I just don't care if it is disturbing me, which is so ever. We have a whole human being dead now. Gone. Children without a mother. Do not know if the children had a relationship with this lady, Miss Paxton, or not, but this is what I was told. She had a lot of children. Where are those children today? Are they grown, older, over the age of 18, under 18? I do not know. But nonetheless, she was still their mother. She's still a human being. You also hear that the small children who were assaulted by these two heathens, their relatives were in the court. Who are these children? And where did they find these children to assault them? This is some baffling information that I'm getting, because I had never heard that they assaulted two children. So you hear the subsequent means after the fact of the murder of Miss Paxton. Now they find out that they've raped some kids. So let me guess. Somebody heard about what happened to Miss Paxton, and then they decided to what? Say what? Oh, by the way, they've been touching my child. Children. Who are these children? How did they come in contact with these two suspects? How long did the offense go on? Who told that they assaulted the children? The children? Or the children went to the doctor and the doctor discovered that the children had been tampered with? What? Because I haven't heard anything pertaining to these children. And I find that baffling as well. It's very this is disturbing to me. Rebecca Dishman, 25, and Sean Flanagan. The details are awfully gory. Let's do a little background on these two heathens, and then we will get on to Miss Lori Vallow Daybell. Thank you for joining me. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. This content was published March 5th, 2021. A couple accused of first-degree murder in the death of an Oak Ridge woman found dismembered in a home in August of 2020, prepared in court for preliminary hearing Friday. Now remember, this is 2 years ago. According to Oak Ridge Police, 52-year-old Sean Flanagan and his 22-year-old Rebecca Dishman have been identified as suspects. The two suspects met over social media in 2019, according to officials. Very interesting. Oak Ridge Police Department Sergeant Marvell Moore was the first witness called to the stand. Moore recalled being called on August 5th, 2020, to investigate an incident in which a female was murdered. Moore said during an interview, Dishman admitted that Flanagan brought 36-year-old Jennifer Paxton to their home. According to Moore, Flanagan brought Paxton to his home and told Dishman that Paxton would be staying with them for a while. Flanagan said Paxton was homeless and needed a place to live. Investigators said shortly after, Flanagan told Dishman to go to the top of the stairs to make sure his mother, who also lived in the home, didn't come down the stairs. Dishman told Moore she then heard a loud scream from Paxton and ran downstairs. So we have this man bringing Paxton to the house, telling the girlfriend, Dishman, that she'd be staying with them for a while. She was homeless, needed a place to live. So allegedly, this woman is saying that Flanagan, I call him Flanagan, Flanagan told her to go to the top of the stairs to make sure the mother, who also lived there, didn't come downstairs. Very interesting. So that means the woman could walk then. Dishman told Moore, the sergeant, she then heard a loud scream. So you mean to tell me as soon as he got the woman in the house, he assaulted her? This is Dishman's version. 1 minute, 2 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. How long was it before they decided to play funny games with Miss Paxton? Dishman said she witnessed Flanagan hitting Paxton over the head repeatedly with a baseball bat in the kitchen of the apartment. Dishman said she was instructed by Flanagan to clean up the blood. Flanagan then took Paxton up the stairs and took her into the bathroom where they cleaned her up. The couple allegedly took Paxton to their bedroom where she was chained to the bed by Flanagan. Dishman said Flanagan raped Paxton repeatedly. Dishman also revealed that she participated in the sexual assault. Paxton was allegedly kept in the home for a period of 3 to 4 days, according to Moore. She was given food but restricted from leaving the room. Paxton was forced to use the bathroom in a bucket, investigators said. During the 3 to 4 day period, Paxton's health began to deteriorate. Dishman told investigators Finnegan said if her condition continued to worsen, they would have to make a decision about killing Paxton. On the day of the murder, Sergeant Moore said Dishman admitted she and Finnegan unchained Paxton and took her to the bathroom where she was given a shower. Paxton was then taken back to the bedroom where she was instructed to lay face down before Finnegan took a shoestring and strangled Paxton to death. Dishman said blood was coming from Paxton's mouth and Finnegan forced her to watch the incident. Paxton was then wrapped in plastic garbage bags and placed into a stand-up freezer, according to Dishman. Investigators said because Paxton was so tall, her neck and other bones were broken to fit her in the freezer. Dishman also said Paxton's nose and nipple were cut from her body by Finnegan. The Knoxville Police Department was able to identify Paxton as the victim after Dishman gave investigators a description which police ran through the Knoxville missing persons reports. Dishman alerted authorities to the incident and told them Paxton's body could be found in the freezer of the home on the 300 block of East Fairview Road. Officials said when they arrived at the home to execute a search warrant, the body was not in the freezer. Finnegan told investigators he didn't know why someone would make up a lie about there being a body in his home. Moore said the home was extremely tidy and neat. I'm going to repeat that because some might find that strange. You would think maybe the house was in disarray because these people's minds were already tainted, full of venom. The home was extremely tidy and neat, but a blanket protruding from under the bed caught his attention. Moore said he pulled the blanket from under the bed and discovered a wet trash bag and Paxton's dismembered body completely nude. In a closet downstairs, Moore located chains, padlocks, and duct tape. During an interview with investigators, Finnegan admitted to knowing the body was in his home. According to Sergeant Moore, Finnegan said he met Paxton when he paid her $20 for a sexual favor. So Finnegan met Miss Paxton, the victim, somewhere and paid her $20 for a sexual favor. Finnegan said he had paid Paxton $100 to come to his home and participate in sexual relations with him and his girlfriend. Is that true? Did he tell the lady, hey, I have a girlfriend at the house. I'll give you $100 if you come play games with us, sexual games? We will never know because the victim is not alive to give her side of the story. Finnegan said after the three engaged in the sexual activity, he went to take a shower, and when he returned, he found Dishman downstairs with Paxton, who was bleeding. Now, this is another version. You got to remember, Dishman said when the woman got there to the house, she came in and saw that the woman had been beat with a bat, and they took her upstairs to clean her up. Now, this version is, Finnegan is saying that after the three engaged in sexual activity, he went to take a shower, and when he returned, he found Dishman downstairs with Paxton, who was bleeding. Finnegan said the two then took Paxton upstairs and chained her to the bed. Oh, so that part he got right, the chaining of her in the bedroom. How interesting. Finnegan said he panicked and put Paxton's body in the freezer sometime after Christmas. Police discovered the body in August of 2020. Officials said Finnegan and Dishman admitted to being responsible for the crimes. According to Anderson County Sheriff's Office, Dishman and Finnegan are both facing first-degree murder, aggravated rape, aggravated kidnapping, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence. This content was uploaded March 5th of 2021. So these two met in 2019 on social media. Facebook, dating app, which one? A year later, on August 5th of 2020, Ms. Paxton was lured to this apartment for sexual activity, allegedly, for $100, after already engaging in a sexual activity for $20 with Mr. Finnegan, his version. So we have two different versions of what happened when Miss Paxton got to this home. Her version is she come downstairs and found the woman beat over the head with a bat. And they take her upstairs, clean her up, blah, blah, blah. Torture her, kill her. Over 3 to 4 days. His version is he comes downstairs and finds her bleeding with his girlfriend, Miss Dishman. Then they take her upstairs, chain her up, clean her up, whichsoever. In the end, it's not going to even matter the version and the sequences because you're dealing with two diabolical minds. And the fact that you have admitted, Miss Dishman, to assaulting the woman sexually after being beat up by one of you two or both, you end up murdering her. You were there when she was held hostage. You've also admitted to raping 2 children. So if you have told the district attorney, detectives that you have raped a woman, and also you're admitting to raping 2 children, why in the world would I believe anything you have to say pertaining to what happened to Miss Paxton? I wouldn't. And no sane person would. So now we have to ask about the children that were assaulted. 2 girls, or a girl and a boy, or 2 boys? How do you go along with somebody to kill another human being? Please make me understand. How do you go along with kidnapping a person, torturing a person, cutting off body parts, raping a person, watching a person be beat to death, participating in a beating, watching the person being cut up, dismembered, stuffed in a freezer for how many months? Let's count. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 9 months. This lady was in a freezer. But I believe Ms. Dishman is the one who led authorities to the body. And now we have to ask why. Why would it take 9 months for her to tell authorities that a dead person was in this location? And that's even more disturbing that he never took the body out and disposed of her body somewhere else. So you're going to leave a whole human stuffed in a damn upright freezer in a house with you and your mother. So that means Ms. Dishman left at some point. Number 1, when did she leave the house? Why did she leave the house? What happened? Did they have a fight, argument? Did he become violent with her? She feared for her safety. Why did she go along with this crime? Why didn't she ever call 911? What is the mother's role? Did she know that the woman was assaulted physically, sexually, beat up, stored in the freezer? Did anybody else know about this? And how did it come to be that Dishman told authorities about the dead lady in the freezer? Why did it take almost a year for her to confess to this crime? This is what's baffling to me, besides the crime itself. And the fact that she told Sergeant Moore, her version, she heard a loud scream from Paxton and ran downstairs. She witnessed Finnegan hitting her over the head, Miss Paxton over the head, repeatedly with a baseball bat in the kitchen. And then he instructed her to clean up the blood. Finnegan then took Paxton up the stairs and took her into the bathroom where they cleaned her up. Then they took her to the bedroom, chained her up. Well, Finnegan chained her up. Dishman said Finnegan raped Paxton repeatedly. Dishman also revealed that she participated in the sexual assault. So my thing is, you're there for the ride. Whether you tied a leg up, tied up an arm, took a punch, a push, you were there. And when you get 12 members of a jury to listen to this type of information, they're not going to care either, because they're going to feel like you were there and you're admitting to sexually assaulting her. So I would say you also helped tie her up and do other nasty things to this human person. This is bad. The Knoxville Police Department was able to identify Paxton as the victim after Dishman gave investigators a description which police ran through the Knoxville missing persons reports. Dishman alerted authorities to the incident and told them Paxton's body could be found in the freezer on the 300 block of East Fairview Road. This is where I'm confused. What led Dishman to tell authorities about the dead lady, Miss Paxton? Why 9 months later are you talking to authorities about a dead person? Could it be about this other crime with the sexual assault of the children? You were accused, you and your friend, and then this is when you decided to go ahead and tell about the dead lady too? Because this is where I'm confused. They're not giving much information in this new report and this old report of the children's assault and how it came to be that she met with authorities to tell them about the dead lady and how she became violated and then dead and murdered. Why did she tell authorities damn near 9 months later what she and Finnegan did to Miss Paxton? This is very disturbing. And the fact that they have assaulted children is even worse. Even worse. Nonetheless, she has been found guilty. Well, she's pled guilty, rather. Life plus 50 years for the murder of Miss Paxton and sexually violating 2 children. What will we hear in August of 2024 of Mr. Finnegan and his role with Miss Paxton and also the 2 children? Because you hear they gave 2 different versions years ago pertaining to the death of Miss Paxton. Who are the children? Are they related to this lady or Mr. Finnegan? Are they friends, associates? Where are these children now? How old are they? This is horrible news. Because naturally what was done to Miss Paxton, there are no words to describe what they did to her. But now we know that they violated 2 children. I do not know the ages, do not know the race or who they are, and how they came to know these 2 heathens. But this is also devastating news as well. Lori Vallow, Daybell is my second subject. Thank you for joining me. Lori wants a new trial. For what, Lori? That cockamamie version you gave at the end of the trial, your statement to the court about Tammy, you being her friend, and your children are safely in the arms with our Father. You know where they are. They're happy. That's such contradictory information. Because let you tell it they were zombies. Isn't that what you told some of your friends? Your husband was a zombie. The children were zombies. So I find it interesting that while you're standing trial for murder of your children and Miss Tammy, that all of a sudden these same horrible people are all happy in heaven, playing, up in the arms with Jesus, yah, yah, yah. Explain to me how a zombie could be happy. I'm confused. I'll wait. And now all of a sudden, your attorneys, or whoever is deciding to represent you, has decided to say, well, there were some improprieties and the conviction needs to be thrown out. It's amazing how these people come up with this nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let's get on to this nonsense with Miss Lori. Court TV is the source. Doomsday Cult mom asked to throw out murder conviction. Lord have mercy. Hello, dear. Thank you all so much for tuning in this early morning. Yes, the Queen is getting up early to get this information out to you.
I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I've had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy.
So basically, I have to listen to this. See, a lot of times we miss things when we hear these audios. So basically, she's saying she has heard from people in heaven, and Tammy Daybell is one of them. So from her communication with Tammy Daybell, allegedly, Tammy's happy. Her children are happy. But yet you're the same one that killed your children alongside your brother and your now husband, who's also incarcerated. And it's also been said that you plotted the death of Tammy Daybell, the first wife of Mr. Daybell, Chad. So you were sleeping around with this man, a married man, plotted to have her killed. He marries you shortly after the death of the wife. Later, this lady's what? Exhumed, and then it becomes a murder instead of natural causes. And now you're sitting in court making up all this crazy nonsense, which someone said, hey, she's entitled to believe whatever she wants. Call her crazy, call her sane, whatever. But she's happy, she's busy. So what exactly did she say to you, Lori? She's planting flowers. What? They have a heavenly gym she goes to. Is it even maybe there's a Walmart in heaven? I don't know. But she's busy. Do you hear yourself? I know my children are happy, and my communications with her, she's busy up there. Well, let me enlighten you on something, Lori. She could be busy down here had you and Chad not murdered her. How about that? And I believe your brother was there as well. I believe Chad had a little help. You all like helping one another. That was the damn problem. Everybody was in cahoots in knocking off everybody. Children, husbands. You all tried to kill your niece's then husband, Mr. Boudreaux. Yet you all are the only ones still standing. What are the odds of that? Minus your brother. And I do believe his wife, she's complicit as well as your niece. And that's the sick part of the story. Besides the deaths of all these people, children and a husband, and Miss Tammy, the fact that you all were conspiring with different people, because we don't really know how deep these rabbit holes go, how deep the rabbit hole is, and how many people actually have knowledge of all of these conspiring to murder people. Because at some point, somebody should have been alerting another person, hey, they're talking ill about you. Hey, Charles, she's calling you a zombie. Hey, she's calling the children zombies. Somebody should have been alerting somebody. And sadly, Charles went for the ride. He should have never went over to that house. He said it out of his own mouth. I think they're up to something, she and her brother. And yes, they were. He walked right into the lion's mouth, trying to deal with his damn children. Sometimes you have to bow out. Let me go the legal way to get custody of my kids, show evidence of a woman who's unraveling, and wait to see what a judge says. But if I'm thinking in my own mind that I'm getting ready to walk into a dire situation, I possibly best not go. Possibly he would be alive today had he not went over to that house and stayed away from that house and went to the courts to get custody of the children. Now, it's not to say they wouldn't have tried to find him somewhere to murder him. I won't doubt that they would have tried to do that, because they did it with the niece's husband. He was at his home when the attempt was made on his life. So I wouldn't doubt that they would send the henchmen, conspire to go over to wherever Charles lived. But he wouldn't have been murdered in Lori's empty damn house. How about that? Let's finish this commentary, everybody.
Extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day.
Shopify has everything you need to grow your retail business, like fast and
sorry about that. I wasn't expecting that. This woman is crazy to me. I don't know, what is Lori talking about. This is absurd to me.
Talking about that she's lost many people. Like,
Lord have mercy.
At least 3 of them right now are your victims.
Exactly.
That you were convicted of taking part in their murders. Unreal. That was her at sentencing, Lori Daybell. But tonight we're talking about Alec Murdaugh maybe getting a new trial. So why don't we just throw in the doomsday cult killer, Lori Daybell, as well. The public defender now taking over her appeal, but her prior attorney laid out some of the issues that may be part of her appellate. This is all from the notice. Take a look. Did the court make an error on April 11th, 2022, when they found that the defendant, after spending 10 months in a mental hospital, was competent to stand trial? Did the court make an error when allowing the government to amend the grand jury indictment 2 years after the indictment was filed without sending the case back to the grand jury? Did the court make an error when allowing the jury to hear statements of co-conspirators, but then rule in jury instructions that the government need not prove those persons were part of the conspiracy? Did the sentencing court abuse its discretion by ordering the defendant to serve 3 consecutive fixed life sentences without parole? So, we've been talking about Alec Murdaugh tonight, how that's a real issue if it's true. How about these issues for the doomsday cult killer, Lori Daybell? Let's bring back in our think tank, Ann Bremner, Rick King, Lori Murray with us. Rick, did anything strike you there as like, oh, that's a real issue? Or are these all still going to make their way through my lost shaker of Himalayan salt?
I think they're going to slide right there. Well, they're going to get caught up in your lost shaker of salt. I mean, obviously, competency is always an issue at any trial, and it's because it comes down to fairness. Was the defendant able to meaningfully participate in the trial? Did they understand the process as it was going along, the entire process, and were they able to understand what was going on? And so, competency happens from the beginning to the very end. So that's one of the things that you can always look back and say, hey, was there a fair rendering of justice when it came down?
But there was a hearing on all of that. There was a hearing on all of that.
Correct.
Right? And a determination. So, where are we going with that?
But that can change. Competency can change from the beginning to the end. And so that's just a question. That's a question they're going to have to answer. Do I believe it's going to get stuck in your path through your shaker of salt? Most likely.
Yeah. Lori Murray, see, this is why in the Murdaugh case, I prefaced everything by saying, I've heard this a million times. We always do, and we're glad that you guys are fighting for him. Keeps our system honest. Don't get me wrong. I want an honest system. I want the truth. But are you seeing anything here, Lori, for the doomsday cult killer?
No. I'm seeing a travesty of makeup right there and then your camera, but no, I think that that you can force medicate defendants, and I've been involved in a case where they were force medicated. But in my case, and I think specifically in this case, the same is true. That just because she holds a specific set of beliefs that are her religious beliefs, and they might seem crazy to us, that doesn't make her crazy. Those are her religious beliefs. What makes her crazy and not able or incompetent, sorry about the crazy, but incompetent is her inability to assist the lawyers that she's working with. And you can have these beliefs, but just because they seem outside the norm to us does not mean that she's incompetent. She can still believe what she wants to believe and be competent.
And Bremner, for me...
Well, let's interject right there. Does Lori believe these things, or she's just talking out inside of her mouth to cover her ass for killing these people? So you have to backtrack to when she was talking to these people and gathering all these people together to pass the word along of her findings of religion and this and that. Did she actually believe those things she was telling other people? Did she actually believe the things that Chad was telling her? What is the truth? Because as you hear here, she's entitled to believe whatever she wants to believe. She could actually believe those things, which led to the deaths of all these people. Or could it just be it was a ruse to knock all these people off? I'll start talking bad about these people. So when they do pop up dead, pop up missing, nobody will be shocked. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's something a lot of people do when it comes to true crime. They lay out the foundation. So when the person goes missing, people can start saying, well, she and he were saying all these things about this one and that one, that they were zombies and they were difficult to deal with, as if that would be an excuse for a person to go missing and or turn up dead. And why wouldn't you also think that these people aren't behind the deaths of the people when they were talking negatively about them? But see, this is how crazy these people are, to think that people wouldn't notice in the end that they are behind the disappearances of these people, the deaths of these people, all these people popping up dead, missing, dead. And what's the common denominator? Lori and Chad. But when you're ill and demented, you don't think a person's going to put two and two together. And sadly, you probably have some people out there that still believe she's innocent or that Chad's innocent. I'd like to know, how does Chad's children feel about all the information that's been relayed in court, Lori's conviction? What do they think now of their father and his involvement in the deaths of her children, their mother, Mr. Charles? Do they still believe their father is innocent?
And Bremner, for me, the telltale sign on what's going on in her mind in compensated trial is reactions at certain moments. And while our cameras were excluded from this trial, we had our people inside, and everything that was described to us seemed consistent with when certain things would happen, she would react in a way which tells me, oh yeah, she's tuned in. She's tuned in.
Yeah, she was totally tuned in, and she was tuned in with that whole speech at the end. I was thinking, with your shaker of salt, you need some spaghetti in there. Let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. That's how many issues they bring.
Well, let me tell you about salt and spaghetti really quickly. You put the salt in the water to make it boil at a higher temperature. Okay, so you can cook it a little bit better. That's why you put the salt in the water for your spaghetti. But yeah, then you throw it against the wall, see if anything sticks. And I get it. That's what the defense has to do. Rick King, here's the other thing that's happening with Lori Daybell, is at some point she's going to be down in Arizona for another murder trial for the murder of her husband, Charles, which preceded the other three murders she's been convicted of already. What are your thoughts on that case, where it was her brother who shot and killed her husband, claimed self-defense, and then died on the toilet before he could be charged with anything? What's that trial going to look like?
Wow, died on the toilet, I'm dead.
Vinny, on that particular case, because this is the case, if I'm wrong, this is the one where I think you just said it, where the brother killed Charles.
Right. But they're going to allege it was a conspiracy. She was smiling afterwards. Right. There were no tears. She was a little flirty with the responding officer. Right. So what I was going to say is that I remember watching the video that we showed here on Court TV, and that showed her response to what happened and how she was not quite as you would expect it to be. However, that being said, I think it's going to be pointing to the empty chair. And I think that's what she's going to say. Look, I had nothing to do with this. He killed him. We all know he killed him. My reaction was my reaction. And maybe it goes back to her competency again. I don't know. But I think it's going to be the empty chair defense. Yeah. Lori, when you look at someone like this, Lori Daybell, and we heard what she said at the sentencing, where she's talking about her friend, Tammy Daybell, right? The wife who was murdered, and then she married, like 17 days later, the murdered wife's husband, Chad. Chad Daybell's going to have a trial as well. Do you think it's possible that Lori Daybell will testify at Chad's trial and maybe take the fall for him so the prophet can be released to lead the 144,000 on the day of reckoning?
Well, I have not considered that one. But, see, you are a defense attorney at heart. I don't think our lawyers would let her. Good Lord, I certainly would be asking. She's wacky enough to do it. So if I was his lawyer, I would certainly be asking her to do it. Hey, there's no sense in both of you going down. But no, I don't see that. I don't see her lawyers allowing her to do that. That would be insanity. That would be incompetence.
Well, let's see what happens. Anyway, fasten your seatbelts.
Girls did it. Remember the Manson girls?
Oh, they did. They did. That's right. One of them just got out. Don't get me started.
Court TV is the source. Thank you all so much for joining me. Well, at the beginning of this audio, you hear a lot of things being mentioned as far as her competency being an issue with getting a new trial or whatever, or get the conviction thrown out, and other legal wranglings that I know nothing about. I think the prosecution did an outstanding job in bringing forth the information pertaining to the victims and laying out the timeline and messages between the brother, the sister, Chad, Lori, other entities, so-called friends coming forward, testifying against Lori. I think they did an outstanding job. Now, as far as these other things they're mentioning, I don't know much about, as I said, the legal wranglings. But if the defense had a problem with anything during trial, then they should have addressed it then. Why would you wait afterwards? Because anything you're assuming was done wrong against Lori by the prosecution, seems to me you would have had that same inkling during trial. Lori is highly disturbed, but it does not mean she doesn't know what she's doing or what she has done, and what she has done is wrong. She knows what she's done is wrong. She and Chad will never admit to the general public that they had full knowledge of what they did to all these victims were wrong. They can go on and continue to talk about their biblical beliefs and zombies and the apocalypse, and that has nothing to do with you murdering these people. You murdered these people for selfish reasons, whether it was sex, lust, monies, bowing out of relationships. You made a sound choice. The baffling part about this story is what you hear in some stories of people who are highly religious, that they would rather murder a person than be ostracized by the church, as in getting a divorce from their spouse, which makes no sense. How is murder less of a crime than adultery? Make me understand that. Oh, I don't want to be ostracized by the church and its members, so I'll kill my spouse so I can be with this other person who I've been sleeping around with. I'm just trying to understand the correlation in the brain that would make you think people would say, oh, yeah, that was better for you to murder this person, your spouse, versus getting a divorce. How is murder less of a crime? Make me understand, because I'm confused. But this is what happens when you are selfish and you are self-absorbed. You have a godlike complex. You're a sociopath or a psychopath. You will take something as serious as murder and diminish it versus another sin, such as adultery, fraud, which is so awful. I'm already doing wrong, but I will kill to cover up this wrong I'm doing over here. But me murdering you is really no big deal. I'm just trying to understand how you think murdering a person is not a destruction of your image. Please make me understand. This story is baffling because, as I said before, in order to get people to go along with you to conspire to kill people, it's dangerous. No different than, yes, Charles Manson and those girls and other guys he had working with him back in that time. When you can gather people to listen at the garbage you're spewing and go along with committing crimes, that is a very diabolical mind, and the people going along for the ride, they are diabolical, just like the Dishman story, the Finnegan story. This man meets this young girl. He gets her in cahoots with him to commit crimes against children and other people. Now she is facing life in prison by fooling with this man, but it was her choice. Same thing with Lori, Chad, her brother, her niece, the brother's new wife. You all were complicit. You all had knowledge of wrongdoing, and you rode the ride. And to me, those are the most dangerous of people, because somehow they can charm people into believing the garbage that they're spewing. And these people sickly ride the ride when they know that what they're saying makes no damn sense. So how do you go from spewing biblical and religious jargon to, hey, help me kill my sister. Hey, help me kill my boyfriend. Help me kill my husband, my wife. How do you do that? Because it's one thing to be talking about zombies and apocalyptic scenarios. How do you mesh murder into that? How do you go about talking about this and this and this? I see visions of this person. I've been visited by this dead person. I've been visited by this person from the Bible or the Book of Mormon or whatever, versus, hey, help me kill my husband. Hey, help me kill my wife. Hey, help me kill my children. Totally different. And we're seeing radical people who are religiously radical murder. Politically radical murder. Because deep down inside, they are already tainted, whether people saw the signs or not. That's the gist of the story. Lori was already jacked up. Many people didn't know it because she hid it well up until the end, when this meeting with Chad and her own philosophies meshed. That was all she wrote. And the writing was on the wall, but nobody was paying attention. Charles knew something was wrong, and he claimed his own death and walked right into the lion's mouth. Sometimes we have to take heed. Sometimes we are selfish with our own safety because we're too busy trying to make another person understand our point of view, make a person like us, love us. But sometimes common sense is more important than being liked, being loved, being accepted. And it's a lesson for all of us. That sometimes we have to know when to bow out. There's something wrong with these people. Their spirit is tainted. And I speak from personal experience. There are just some people you cannot help. You can't do a damn thing for them. You can't be nice to them. You can't love them. They are unreachable because their mind is warped. Their ideologies are warped. And all they're doing is help tainting your own spirit. And that's the devil's work. He uses people to do his dirty deeds, to lure people into the fold, and then he crushes them. He uses humans for this very purpose. And we have to know the difference when we are being manipulated, hoodwinked, bamboozled, coerced. Bow out, because it just may save your life. I want to thank you for joining me. Have a safe weekend. I will be back later with more commentary and breaking news. Mind the children. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. 2 baffling cases. One out of East Tennessee and one from Arizona, Utah, and in between. Because we don't know where the children were murdered. Lori's children. What will happen next year with Mr. Chad? Will he admit to his wrongdoings in murdering his wife and these children? Or will he also spew out this crazy nonsense at the end of his trial, as Lori did, at sentencing? Or will he take the right initiative and tell the truth? Because in the end, these people are gone. They're not coming back. And what has been done to them is just absolutely atrocious. And sadly, there are more people out here who are Chads, Lori's, Alex's wife, the niece. There's more of them walking around. And that's the scary part. Is that even if you throw away the key and lock these people up, never let them out, never give them parole, there is another Lori walking around. There is another Chad. There is another Alex. There is another Alex's wife. There is another Lori's niece waiting in the fold to exact a crime, to be a follower, to be a bobblehead, to be a demon. You just have to pray that you won't be in their path. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Please check my community board for said polls and updates. And right before I close out this live stream, I'm going to read off the polls that I put on the past couple of days and read you the results. Did Rebecca Hill speak ill, give up info of Alex Murdaugh trial to jurors or others? 48% yes, 15% no, 36% not sure. Should Rebecca Hill be charged with jury tampering? 81% yes, 19% no. Should a court clerk speak about a court trial afterwards? 15% yes, 85% no. Does Rebecca Hill have regrets about getting juror dismissed and speaking to jurors, if true? 38% yes, 46% no, 15% not sure. Will Alex Murdaugh receive a new trial? 42% yes, 40% says no, 18% says not sure. Did the Murdaugh dismiss juror's ex-husband tell the truth that she was telling trial info to others? This is the ex-husband. Yes, 43%. 35% of you said no, and 22% of you said not sure. Did a Murdaugh trial juror that was dismissed talk about the trial to outsiders? 75% of you said yes. 13% of you said no. 13% of you as well said not sure. 24 votes. Did Rebecca Hill read alleged Facebook posts from a jury member about the Murdaugh trial? 78% of you believe she did read a Facebook post. 11% of you said no. 11% of you said not sure. Are jury members telling the truth about Rebecca Hill? 82% said yes. 0 no, not sure 18. This is where it's conflicting, because if 82% of you believe that the jury members are telling the truth about Rebecca Hill, then how could some of you believe that she also read a Facebook post about what the juror said? 78% of you believe she did read a Facebook post, but the ex-husband denies posting that to Facebook. So what is the truth? She said negative things to the jury, but did see the Facebook post? Or the jury is lying on her, and she's also lying about seeing the Facebook post. Which is the truth? Does the jury members have a vendetta against her? That's a live stream I would like to do as well. Do you think Rebecca Hill planned months to years to write a book and speak publicly about Murdaugh trial to gain money, fame? 78% of you said yes. 11% of you said no. 11% of you said not sure. Is Rebecca Hill clout chasing off of the Alex Murdaugh trial? 100% of you said yes out of 6 votes. Please go to my community board to check out this interview by Fitz News. It was uploaded a month ago. It says, Clerk of Court Becky Hill shares Murdaugh trial insights. I may play that later to coincide with my theory that she is a clout chaser. She's been looking for attention. She's been looking for a way out of her job and looking for a way to make quick money. As you've heard from Vinnie Politan of Court TV, it is unheard of a court clerk writing a book. And why would this woman choose to write a book? Jury members, perhaps. Lawyers, perhaps. When it's recommended that they don't talk about trial information either. But jury members, yes. Those are the people that usually the focus is on. The people who made the decision about the defendant or defendants. Not the trial clerk. Not the lawyers. Not the judge. Now, I also got information that the judge has spoken to the news. Mr. Newman, Judge Newman, and I also posted that to my community board if you'd like to check out that content. Do we have a case of two clout chasers? Judge Newman and Rebecca Hill. Is she still the clerk? Will she be civilly sued by the lady who was dismissed as a juror? Also the ex-husband who she claimed she saw a Facebook post from him. What is the truth? Will she also be brought up on charges of jury tampering? And as someone said on a news entity, these jury members really don't have any idea how serious this is, and that now they're going to have to be disposed and talked to by law officials pertaining to all this information that they have brought forward to the attorneys of Mr. Murdaugh. And I'm also wondering if they have changed their mind about their vote for guilty. Is this a case of jury members wanting to recant their vote? Because that would be even more devastating. That they actually feel like they were coerced by this lady and they would have voted not guilty, which 9 times out of 10 would have led to a mistrial. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful weekend. You have been listening to The Vault. Excel.